calm your mind. Your mind is still moving, even though your body is already here, resting in the quiet of the night. Thoughts may be circling, one after another, without really asking for permission. And even if you feel tired, deeply tired, something inside just hasn't slowed down yet. It can feel like your body is ready to sleep, but your mind is still trying to process, still trying to finish something that never really ends. One thought leads to another, and then another, and it becomes difficult to find a place to pause. You don't need to fix that right now. You don't need to make your thoughts stop. You don't need to clear your mind or do anything differently. There is nothing you need to solve in this moment. Just being here, listening, is already enough. Your mind is not doing anything wrong. It's simply doing what it has learned to do, especially in quiet moments like this. When everything else slows down, it becomes more noticeable, and that can make it feel louder than it really is. You might notice your thoughts moving between things that already happened and things that haven't happened yet. Replaying, planning, imagining, trying to make sense of things. And even if it feels tiring, that movement doesn't need to be stopped. It can continue in the background without needing your full attention. You don't have to follow every thought that appears. You also don't need to push anything away. You can simply let thoughts come and go, like something passing by, without needing to engage or respond to them. And if you do find yourself inside a thought, that's okay too. There's no need to pull yourself out of it. At some point, your awareness can gently return on its own, without effort, without correction. There is a part of you that is already beginning to slow down, even if it's very subtle, even if you can't clearly feel it yet. That part doesn't need your help. It doesn't need your attention. It simply responds to the absence of pressure. You don't need to try to fall asleep. You don't need to make anything happen. Sleep is not something you create directly. It's something that arrives when there is enough space for it. And that space can begin to form now, quietly, without effort. Right now, there is nothing expected from you, no task to complete, no decision to make, no need to stay alert or prepared. You can allow yourself to step out of that state, even just a little. Your body is already here, supported, resting in place. You don't need to hold yourself up. You don't need to stay ready. You can begin to let that sense of holding soften, even if only slightly. And as you remain here, something very gentle can begin to happen. Not something you need to create, but something that unfolds on its own. A gradual softening, a quiet shift, as your system begins to recognize that it is safe to slow down. Even if your mind is still active, even if thoughts continue to appear, that doesn't stop this process. Both things can exist at the same time. Thoughts moving, and something deeper, becoming still. You can allow that to be enough for now. Not a complete stillness, not a perfect quiet, just a small shift in the background. Something that doesn't ask for attention, but continues anyway. And as you stay here, listening or drifting, you may begin to notice small moments where your thoughts pause, even briefly. Small gaps, small spaces, where nothing is happening for a second or two. You don't need to hold on to those moments. You don't need to recreate them. Just noticing that they can happen is enough. Your mind doesn't need to be completely quiet for you to rest. It only needs to feel that it doesn't have to keep going at the same pace. And that change in pace can begin slowly, naturally, without effort. There is nothing you need to do to deserve rest. You don't need to finish thinking or resolve anything before you sleep. All of that can wait. For now, you can simply be here, letting your thoughts come and go, letting your body rest, letting this moment be exactly as it is, without needing to change it. And you can continue like this, gently, quietly, without pressure, allowing everything to soften in its own time. As your awareness becomes lighter, and your body begins to settle a little more with each passing moment, arrival and permission, you can begin to notice the simple feeling of being here, without needing to change anything. The surface beneath you continues to hold your body in a steady, quiet way, supporting you without effort, without asking for attention. There is a kind of support that remains constant, whether you notice it or not, something that has been there all along. And as you remain here, there is nothing you need to get right. There is no correct way to listen, no ideal way to relax, no state you should already be in. Even if your mind is still active, even if your body hasn't fully settled yet, none of that needs to be different. You are already allowed to be here, exactly as you are. You don't need to prepare for sleep. You don't need to reach a certain point before rest can begin. There is no sequence you have to follow, no method you need to apply. All of that can gently fall away. This moment doesn't require performance, and it doesn't require effort. Your attention can move freely, without direction. It might rest on the sound of the voice for a moment, and then drift somewhere else. It might return, or it might not. Both are completely fine. You don't need to hold on to anything or stay focused in any particular way. There is a quiet permission here to let go of control, even if only slightly. Not all at once, not completely, just enough to begin creating a little more space. Space where nothing needs to be managed, nothing needs to be monitored, nothing needs to be fixed. Sometimes the mind continues to move because it believes it needs to, because it has been active all day, solving, planning, reviewing, preparing. And it may take a little time for it to recognize that it can slow down now. You don't need to convince it. You don't need to force it. You can let it come to that realization on its own. You don't need to stop your thoughts. You don't need to quiet your mind. You can allow everything to continue exactly as it is, while something deeper begins to slow down underneath, in a way that doesn't require your attention. If you notice any subtle tension in your body, you don't need to fix it. You don't need to release it intentionally. You can simply allow it to be there, without resistance, without judgment. Often that is enough for it to begin softening, on its own, in its own time. Your body responds more to safety than to effort. And right now, there is nothing here that requires you to be alert or prepared. There is no urgency, no demand, no expectation placed on you. You can let that realization settle gently, not as something you need to think about, but as something you can feel gradually. A quiet understanding that for this moment, everything can pause, and that pause doesn't have to be complete. It doesn't have to be perfect. Even a small shift is enough. Even a slight slowing, a small softening is already a movement in the direction of rest. You might begin to notice very subtle changes. The way your body rests a little more into the surface beneath you. The way your breathing moves a little more freely. The way your thoughts begin to space themselves out, even slightly. You don't need to look for these changes. You don't need to measure them. You can allow them to happen quietly in the background without needing to bring attention to them. There is a natural rhythm your body returns to when nothing is being asked of it. A slower pace, a softer tone, a quieter way of being. Even if you're not fully there yet, you may begin to sense that direction, gently guiding you without pressure. You can remain here without needing to move forward, without needing to progress, just allowing this moment to be enough, exactly as it is, without needing it to become something else. And as you continue to rest in this way, your awareness may become a little less focused, a little more open, a little more fluid. Not something you need to control, just something that happens when there is less effort involved. You don't need to hold on to these words. You don't need to remember anything that is being said. You can let the sound come and go, just like your thoughts, without needing to follow it closely. There is nothing you need to do next. No step to follow, no instruction to complete, no expectation to meet. Just this quiet permission to be, while your body and mind begin to settle in their own time. And you can stay here in this space where nothing is required, allowing everything to unfold naturally without pressure, without expectation, without effort, as a deeper sense of calm continues to form quietly underneath. Body-based relaxation. You may begin to notice your body a little more now, not in a focused or effortful way, but in a quiet and gentle awareness. The simple feeling of your body resting. The natural contact between you and the surface beneath you, the way everything is already being supported without needing anything from you. There is nothing you need to change, nothing you need to improve. Just noticing is enough. And sometimes, as you notice, small adjustments begin to happen on their own. Not because you are trying, but because your body responds naturally when there is no pressure placed on it. You might notice your jaw, how it's resting right now. Whether it feels slightly tense or already soft, it doesn't need to be different. Just bringing a light awareness there can be enough for something to shift. The space between your teeth may begin to open slightly, your jaw no longer needing to hold anything in place. And even if nothing changes, that's completely fine. There is no goal here, just the quiet permission for your body to be exactly as it is, without needing to adjust or respond. Your face may begin to soften in small, subtle ways. Around your eyes, across your forehead, through the muscles that have been quietly active throughout the day. You don't need to release them intentionally. Your body already understands how to do that when it feels safe. That sense of safety doesn't need to be created. It can simply be recognized. There is nothing here that requires you to be alert, nothing that needs your attention in an urgent way. Your shoulders may still be holding a bit of tension, and that's okay. You don't need to drop them or force them to relax. You can simply notice the way they are being supported, the way they no longer need to carry anything. There is a quiet difference between holding and being held, and your body can begin to recognize that difference now, even if only slightly, even if it happens slowly, without you noticing exactly when it begins. Your arms can rest naturally wherever they are. There is no need to position them in a certain way, no need to adjust. The weight of them can simply be supported without effort. Your hands, too, can soften. Fingers no longer needing to hold or do anything, just resting naturally without purpose. There is something very simple about that, something complete. And as your awareness continues, it may move gently through your chest, not as something to focus on, but as something to notice lightly. The natural movement of your breath, rising and falling in its own rhythm. You don't need to control your breathing. You don't need to change its pace or depth. Your body is already breathing in the way it needs to. You can allow that process to continue without interference. Sometimes just noticing the breath without trying to change it allows it to soften on its own. It may become slower, or deeper, or more even, but it doesn't have to. However it is, it's already enough. There is a quiet intelligence in your body that knows how to move toward rest. It doesn't need instructions. It doesn't need effort. It responds more to the absence of pressure than to anything you try to do. Your back can begin to feel more supported now. The parts of your body that meet the surface beneath you can soften into that support, spreading slightly, releasing the need to hold themselves in place. You don't need to check if it's happening. You don't need to monitor it. You can simply allow your body to settle in the way it naturally does when nothing is being asked of it. Your stomach and chest continue to move gently with your breath. There is no need to follow that movement closely. It can remain in the background, steady and continuous. If your breathing changes, that's okay. If it stays the same, that's also okay. Your body knows how to find its own rhythm when it feels safe enough to do so. You might begin to notice a subtle heaviness in your body. Not something uncomfortable, but something grounding. A sense that your body doesn't need to hold itself up anymore. That heaviness can spread slowly without direction. Through your shoulders, your arms, your legs, your entire body gradually settling more deeply into rest. Your hips, your legs can soften as well, supported without effort. There is no need to move them or adjust them, just allowing them to rest exactly as they are. Your knees, your calves, your feet can all begin to release any quiet tension they may have been holding. Not because you're focusing on them, but because your body responds to this calm environment as a whole. There is no need to scan your body or move your attention in a structured way. You can let your awareness drift naturally, or even disappear for moments at a time. Even if your mind drifts away completely, your body continues this process. It doesn't depend on your attention. It doesn't require you to stay present. And when your awareness returns, you may notice that things feel slightly different, a little softer, a little heavier, a little more settled. These changes don't need to be clear or strong. Even very subtle shifts are enough. Your body doesn't rush. It doesn't force. It simply moves gradually in the direction of rest. You can allow your awareness to become lighter now, less focused on specific areas, more open and diffuse. Not concentrating, not analyzing, just gently noticing when something comes into awareness. Your breathing continues quietly in the background. Your body remains supported without needing to hold anything in place. There is nothing to improve, nothing to correct. Your body is already moving toward rest, even if it feels slow, even if it feels subtle. And you can remain here, allowing this process to continue on its own, letting your body soften, letting your awareness drift, letting everything unfold naturally, without effort, without control, without expectation. Mental softening. Your mind may still be moving, and that's completely natural. Thoughts can continue to appear one after another, even as your body begins to settle more deeply into rest. There is no need to stop them, no need to change their direction, no need to make them quieter. You can allow your thoughts to be there, just as they are, without needing to follow them closely. They can move in the background like something that doesn't require your full attention, something that can continue without your involvement. Sometimes the mind continues because it is used to continuing. It has been active for hours, responding, thinking, processing, and it doesn't immediately recognize that it can slow down now, and that's okay. It doesn't need to be rushed into stillness. You don't have to turn your mind off. You don't have to clear anything away. You can simply allow the movement to exist without stepping into it, without becoming involved in it. If a thought begins to pull your attention, you don't need to resist it. You don't need to push it away. You can let yourself drift into it for a moment, and then, at some point, your awareness may gently return on its own, without effort. There is no need to monitor where your attention goes. It can move freely, naturally, without direction. Sometimes here, sometimes elsewhere, sometimes nowhere in particular. And as you remain here, something subtle may begin to change. Not necessarily the presence of thoughts, but your relationship to them. They may begin to feel less immediate, less important, less defined. Thoughts can start to lose their sharp edges, becoming softer, more distant, as if they are no longer asking for the same level of attention they once did. You don't need to make that happen. It can unfold naturally when there is no effort to control or engage. You might begin to notice small spaces between thoughts, very brief pauses where nothing is happening. Even if those pauses are short, even if they come and go, they are already enough. You don't need to hold on to those spaces. You don't need to extend them. Just noticing that they can exist is enough for your mind to begin shifting in a quieter direction. Your mind doesn't need to be silent for you to rest. It only needs to feel that it doesn't have to keep working in the same way, and that change can happen gradually, without effort. Even when thoughts continue, they may begin to move more slowly. Less urgency, less intensity, less need to follow each one to the end. You can let them pass, one by one, without needing to respond, like something moving across your awareness, without asking you to hold on to it. And if your mind becomes more active again, that's okay. There is no setback here. There is no progress to lose. Each moment is independent, and each moment can soften again in its own time. You don't need to stay in a calm state. You don't need to maintain anything. You can allow your experience to change naturally, without needing to control it. There is a kind of ease that begins to form when nothing is being forced. A quiet openness where thoughts can come and go without resistance, without interruption. You may begin to feel less involved in what your mind is doing, less connected to each thought, less drawn into each pattern, and that distance doesn't require effort. It happens when you stop trying to manage the process, when you allow everything to unfold in its own way. Your awareness can become lighter now, less focused, less attached, almost like listening without needing to understand or noticing without needing to interpret. You don't need to make sense of anything right now. You don't need to figure anything out. All of that can wait. This moment doesn't require clarity. It doesn't require resolution. It only invites you to rest, even if your thoughts continue in the background. And as you remain here, your mind may begin to drift more icily, moving between thoughts and quiet, between awareness and softness, without needing to choose one or the other. You can let your attention fade slightly, becoming less defined, less fixed, not concentrating, not holding on to anything, just allowing your awareness to loosen. Sometimes you may notice the sound of the voice more clearly, and other times it may feel distant, almost blending into the background. Both are completely fine. There is no need to stay connected to the words. You can let them pass through your awareness, just like your thoughts, without needing to hold on to them. And as everything continues to soften, your mind may begin to feel less central, less active, less present. Not because it has stopped, but because it no longer needs to lead the experience. There is something deeper that begins to take over, something quieter, more stable, more at ease. You don't need to move toward it, you don't need to find it. It's already there, becoming more noticeable as everything else slows down. Thoughts can continue to appear, but they may feel lighter now, less defined, almost like they are fading before they fully form. You might notice that some thoughts don't complete themselves anymore. They begin and then gently dissolve as if they are no longer being held in place. This is something your mind does naturally when it begins to rest. It doesn't need to be guided. It doesn't need to be controlled. You can allow that process to continue without observing it too closely, without trying to understand it. Your awareness can drift further now, becoming softer, less anchored, more fluid. There may be moments where you are listening, and moments where you are not, and moments where you are somewhere in between. All of that is part of the same quiet experience. None of it needs to be corrected, and as this continues, your thoughts may begin to feel more like distant echoes than clear ideas. Something passing, something fading, something that doesn't require your attention. You don't need to follow them. You don't need to respond. You can simply allow them to move through without resistance. There is no need to stay aware of everything that is happening. You can let your awareness become more diffuse, more open, less centered. And in that openness, your mind can continue to soften, gradually, gently, without effort. Nothing needs to be held. Nothing needs to be followed. Nothing needs to be changed. Just this quiet unfolding, where your mind slowly releases the need to stay active and begins to rest in a softer, more effortless way, moment by moment, without needing your attention. Deepening state, agora rafaka o tupico. Deepening state, seguindo as diatrizes de etapa 3, elaborando, o cantado, e com metodi, 15.000, characters, identity and subconscious suggestions. As your body continues to rest and your mind drifts more easily between awareness and quiet, there is a deeper part of you that becomes more open now. Not something you need to reach, not something you need to activate, but something that naturally becomes more receptive when everything else softens. You don't need to do anything to enter this state. You are already moving within it, gently, without effort. And in this quieter space, your mind becomes more open to simple, natural shifts. Not forced changes, not something you need to believe or repeat, but small adjustments that begin to feel true on their own. You may begin to notice that you are becoming someone who doesn't need to hold on to every thought, someone who can allow things to pass more easily without needing to resolve them before resting. There is nothing you need to prove here, nothing you need to achieve. Just a quiet recognition that something in you is already changing in a way that feels natural and effortless. You are not trying to calm your mind anymore. You are becoming someone whose mind naturally softens when it's time to rest. And that shift doesn't require effort. It doesn't require discipline. It happens gradually, in the background, without needing your attention. You may notice that your body is learning how to let go more icily, learning how to release tension without being asked, without being guided. This is something your body already knows how to do. It's just remembering, in its own time, in its own way. And as this continues, you may begin to feel a deeper sense of trust in yourself. Not something you need to think about, but something you can feel quietly, underneath everything else. A sense that you don't need to manage everything, that you don't need to stay in control, that you can allow things to unfold without needing to follow them. You are becoming someone who can rest even when thoughts are present. Someone who doesn't need silence in order to feel calm, and that makes everything easier, because there is no longer a condition that needs to be met before you can relax. You may notice that your mind begins to feel less urgent, thoughts no longer needing immediate attention, no longer demanding to be solved or completed. They can come and go without interrupting your rest. And even if some thoughts still feel strong at times, you are learning that you don't need to engage with them. You can let them exist without becoming involved. That ability grows naturally, without effort, each time you allow yourself to rest like this. You are becoming more familiar with this state, more comfortable in it, more at ease within it. And that familiarity makes it easier to return here again and again, without needing to think about how. Your mind is learning that it doesn't need to stay active in order to be safe. Your body is learning that it doesn't need to stay tense in order to be ready. There is a quiet shift happening where everything begins to feel more supported, more stable, more at ease. You may begin to notice that letting go feels more natural now. Not something you do, but something that happens when you stop holding on. And that process continues gently, without needing your attention. You are becoming someone who can drift into rest without effort. Someone who doesn't need to control the transition into sleep. Sleep becomes something that happens, not something you try to achieve. And that changes the way your mind responds at night. There is less pressure, less resistance, less urgency. You may begin to feel that you can trust this process. Trust that your body knows how to rest. Trust that your mind knows how to slow down. And that trust grows quietly each time you allow yourself to be here, without forcing anything. You are not trying to stop overthinking. You are becoming someone who naturally moves beyond it, without needing to push it away. And that shift is subtle, but real. It continues even when you are not aware of it. Your awareness may drift in and out now, and that's completely fine. These words can continue to settle quietly in the background, without needing to be followed. There is nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to hold on to. Only this gentle unfolding, where your mind becomes quieter, your body becomes softer, and your entire system begins to move toward rest. You are becoming someone who feels safe in stillness, someone who doesn't need constant movement in the mind to feel secure. And that safety allows everything else to soften naturally. You may notice that your breathing feels easier, your body feels heavier, your thoughts feel lighter. All of these small changes are part of the same process. A quiet shift toward rest, toward calm, toward ease. And this process continues, even as your awareness fades, even as you drift further away from the words. You don't need to stay here. You don't need to keep listening. You can allow yourself to drift whenever it happens. Because this state remains even when you are no longer aware of it, your mind continues to soften, your body continues to rest, and you are becoming more and more familiar with this feeling of letting go, more comfortable with it, more at ease within it. It becomes something you can return to night after night without needing to think about how. Something that feels natural, something that feels safe, something that feels like home. And as you remain here, everything continues to deepen, gently, quietly, without effort. You are becoming someone who rests easily, someone who lets go naturally, someone who drifts into sleep without resistance. And this is already happening, even now, in this quiet, effortless way. Calm loop, passive state. There is nothing new you need to follow now, nothing new to understand. Everything that needed to settle has already begun to settle, and it continues on its own, without effort. You can simply remain here, in this quiet space where your body rests and your mind drifts, without needing to move in any direction. Your awareness can come and go gently, naturally. Sometimes closer to the sound, sometimes further away, sometimes fading completely for a while. And each time you return, even briefly, You may notice that everything feels softer again, as if the mind has continued to slow down in the background. There is no need to track this, no need to measure anything. The process continues whether you notice it or not. Your body remains supported, heavy in a comfortable way, resting without needing to adjust itself. Your breathing continues quietly, steady, and effortless, like a soft rhythm that carries you without needing attention. And your mind, even if it still moves at times, does so in a quieter, more distant way. Thoughts appearing and fading without needing to be followed. You can let them pass, just like the sound of the voice, just like any sensation that comes and goes. Nothing needs to stay, nothing needs to be held. There is a gentle repetition in this experience now. A rhythm that doesn't demand attention, but simply continues, steady and calm. You may notice that your awareness feels more spread out, less centered, less fixed in one place. Almost as if you are not fully inside your thoughts anymore, and not fully focused on the voice either. Just somewhere in between where everything feels softer, and that in-between space is enough. It doesn't need to become anything else. You can rest there without needing to define it. Your mind may drift into fragments of thought, images, or sensations that don't fully form, that don't fully connect. And you don't need to understand them. You don't need to make sense of anything that appears. They can come and go, quietly, without meaning, without importance. And as this continues, your awareness may fade for longer periods, returning only briefly, and then drifting again. That is part of this natural rhythm. There is no need to stay present. You can allow yourself to drift as much as you want, as often as it happens, without noticing when it begins or when it ends. The voice can remain here, steady and calm, but it doesn't need to be followed. It can become part of the background, something distant and soft. And even when you are not aware of it, the calm continues. Your body remains at rest, your breathing continues. Your mind continues to soften. Everything moves gently in the same direction, without needing guidance. There may be moments where everything feels very quiet, almost empty, almost still, and then moments where a thought appears again, briefly, before fading away. Both are part of the same process. Neither needs to be changed. You don't need to stay in the quiet. You don't need to avoid the thoughts. You can allow everything to come and go, freely, naturally. And as this gentle loop continues, your system becomes more familiar with this state, more comfortable with it, more at ease within it. There is no effort here, no expectation, no need to reach anything. Only this steady, repeating calm, where everything softens again and again. Your awareness may feel like it is floating now, not fixed anywhere, not holding on to anything. And that floating feeling can continue without needing to be noticed. You don't need to stay connected to the body. You don't need to stay connected to the voice. You can drift between both or away from both without needing to choose. And each time you drift, your mind rests a little more. Each time you let go, your body settles a little deeper. This happens naturally, without effort, without direction. There is nothing to do, nothing to follow, nothing to maintain. Just this quiet repetition, where calm continues to return, again and again, in its own time. Your thoughts may now feel more like distant echoes, softer and less defined. And even when they appear, they don't interrupt this calm. They move through it, gently, without resistance. You can allow them to pass without noticing, without engaging. Your awareness can continue to fade in and out, like a soft rhythm, without needing to stay consistent. And the more this continues, the less need there is to be aware at all. You don't need to hold on to this moment. You don't need to stay here consciously. You can let yourself drift further, becoming less aware, more at rest, more at ease. Everything continues without you. The calm remains. The body rests. The mind softens. And you can continue drifting, gently, quietly, without effort, without direction, as this steady, familiar calm carries you further into rest. Sleep transition. There is nothing more you need to follow now. The words can begin to fade into the background, becoming softer, less important, just another gentle sound that comes and goes. You don't need to stay connected to anything being said. You don't need to keep listening. Your mind can begin to drift further away in its own time without effort. Your awareness may already be fading, becoming quieter, more distant, less defined. And that is completely natural. You can allow that to continue without needing to notice it, without needing to guide it. Your body is already resting deeply. There is nothing left to adjust, nothing left to release. Everything that needed to slow down has already begun to slow. Everything that needed to soften is already softening. You can let go even more now, not by doing anything, but by no longer holding on to what remains. Your thoughts may come and go, faint and distant, like something that doesn't fully form. You don't need to follow them. You don't need to respond. They can fade on their own without effort. Your breathing continues quietly, steady and calm, supporting this gentle transition into sleep. And as you remain here, your awareness can begin to dissolve further, becoming less connected to the body, less connected to the voice, less connected to anything at all. There may be longer spaces now where nothing is noticed, where everything becomes still without needing to be recognized. And when awareness returns, even briefly, it may feel softer, quieter, more distant than before. You don't need to stay with it. You can let it fade again, naturally. There is no need to come back fully, no need to stay present. You can allow yourself to drift, again and again, without noticing when it happens. The voice can continue, but it no longer needs to be heard clearly. It can become part of the background, something soft and distant, and even as it fades, the calm remains. Your body continues to rest. Your mind continues to soften. Everything continues in the same quiet direction, without effort, without interruption. You are safe to let go completely. There is nothing you need to be aware of now. Nothing you need to follow, nothing you need to do. Just this gentle drifting where awareness becomes lighter and lighter, softer and softer. Your thoughts may now feel far away, almost gone before they begin. And even if something appears, it doesn't stay. It fades quickly without needing your attention. You can allow yourself to move deeper into that quiet where everything becomes still without needing to be noticed. There is no clear boundary between being awake and being asleep now. Just a gradual softening, a quiet transition that happens on its own. You don't need to reach sleep. You don't need to try to fall asleep. Sleep can come to you, naturally, easily, in its own time. And you can allow yourself to drift into it without noticing when it happens. Your awareness can continue to fade, gently, slowly, without effort. There may be longer and longer spaces now where nothing is held, nothing is followed, nothing is known, and that is where rest deepens. You don't need to stay here. You don't need to remain aware. You can let everything go, completely. And as the voice becomes softer, more distant, almost blending into silence, you can continue drifting, quietly, gently, effortlessly, into sleep.